I need off these streets and fast. I don't know how much longer I can last. Cold, damp, smelling like a paraffin lamp. I must be invisible to the eye, the amount of people that just walk right on by. I wish just one would stop, chat, say hi. They'd find I'm just an ordinary nice guy. My name is Sean Studders. I'm from Moston, Manchester. I've been homeless around about 7 months now. This is the second time I've been homeless. The last time I was down south, Canterbury, a bit more than 10 years ago, nearly 15 years ago now. I lost my wife, well, my fiancée. She died of a brain tumour. Got in with the wrong crowd, took drugs, numb the pain. Vicious circle, can't break out of it. Homeless just eventually come along with the drug problem. The main thing that gets me is people's ignorance, and manners cost nothing. When I'm asking for change or I'm selling poems, for someone to speak to me for 5 minutes means more than them giving me change, than giving me money. It's that, because so many people just walk by, completely ignore you. You get sort of not angry, but you seem to when it's like you're satisfied when someone comes up to you and actually speaks to you, because so many pass you by and don't speak to you, don't even acknowledge that someone will step over you. That when someone does come along and talk to you, you crave the attention, because I guess that comes with being lonely. You're very lonely on the streets as well. You have to be able to spend time with yourself, and like your own company. It's hard to stay out of trouble as well and away from trouble when you're on the streets, because there's a lot of trouble on the streets. Not only just the people who live on the streets, other homeless people, but with passers-by. Young kids, not just young kids, not really young kids, middle-aged blokes, just idiots, drunk, Friday, Saturday night. You have to have eyes in the back of your head. Watch what you're saying, how you look at people, how you project yourself to other people. The slightest little thing can trigger conflict, then you need to be able to deal with that conflict. I'm not currently looking for housing. I'm trying to get my drug habit under control. I'm on a £10 bag and half a £10 bag a day. I've come down to. There's very little help for people over 27, 28. I say over 30. There's a lot more help for younger people between the ages of, say, 18 and 25. After that, it's a lot harder to find help, and the places that do give you help, there's that many people wanting it. There's not enough staff to give it, if you know what I mean. There's not enough resources. There's very few places for people over the age of 30 to get help with housing. I guess it's all about money, innit? And at the moment, with all the cuts and that, I guess, well, I'd say we're at the bottom of the ladder, and the people at the bottom of the ladder is the ones that have suffered and the ones that are suffering. Well, it's drugs, but it's also food, money, because I don't claim benefits. So my day is spent basically selling my poems to earn money. I try to earn money. I try not to beg. I don't like begging. It's degrading. It makes me. I feel bad enough as it is without asking for money. He was already doing poems, Ben, and I used to sit with him. I used to come up with some little ideas, and he'd write the poem, because I was good with my English and my spelling, and he was good with his rhyming. I could give him words to put in, to structure into a poem, and then he gave me a couple of poems to do myself, and I ended up rewriting them and basically I try to come up with another poem every week, so I've got at least one different poem every week to sell. And I do the poems because I don't like begging. Sometimes I do it because I have to. Yeah, if I'm having a bad day selling a poem, not every day can be a good day. Some days people will just completely ignore me. I won't sell a single one. So then I have to beg my money up, which I don't like doing. It's degrading. I feel degraded enough. So that's the reason I sell the poems and that, is because, and also I like to earn my money. Even though I've had a drug problem, yeah, for a long time, I've always worked. Whether it be little jobs at weekend or a steady job, I've always worked. I've never been lazy, never ever been lazy, and I've never really. My life does revolve around drugs, but I've always tried to have a life outside of drugs, if you know what I mean. Do you understand what I'm saying? Something like I've always tried to be structured. When I get up in the morning, I like to think about what I'm going to do during the day. Just not take it as it comes. Because then, to me, that's just a waste of time, waste of a day. That, because you're just plodding along then, day by day. Whereas if you have some sort of structure, you keep in time, if you know what I mean. You keep in, normal. Whereas I could just get up in the morning, just laze about all day. Can you spare a little change, please? Go and score. Just plod along. Whereas I prefer to have a little bit of structure. It's stupidness, really, when I think about it, because how can a person suddenly think that someone's never had a job, never owned decent clothes, like they see me with a decent pair of trainers on, and I get slagged off for it because I've got a decent pair of trainers on. Why shouldn't I be able to wear decent clothes just because I live on the street? Why should I be scruffy? That means plenty of resources about the way you can go. There's loads of toilets, you can go and have a wash every day. There's no need to be like that. If you ask me, that's just laziness. Just laziness. There's no need to be like that. But people get into a circle, a vicious circle, where it just becomes, can't be arsed doing this, can't be arsed doing that. You just plod along. They end up, not getting a wash, and before they know it, they're not having a bath for the week. Before they know it, they're not having a bath for the month. That sort of thing. It's hard to explain, but that's the public's view. Most criticism I get is about what I'm wearing or how I'm looking. I've got to be scruffy to be homeless. I've got to be dirty to be homeless. Also, you've got to have a drug habit when you're homeless. You've either got to be a smackhead, yeah, or you've got to be a drunk because you're homeless. Whereas that isn't true. I have got a drug problem, but there's plenty of people on the streets who haven't got a drug problem. And the government's policy with that is ridiculous. If you haven't got, I know one chap, because he hasn't got a drug problem and he hasn't got an alcohol problem, there's no help for him. He isn't priority. He doesn't come under, priority rules of the help being there for them just because. So you've got to have a drug problem or a drink problem to get proper help. That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. I'd just like to say, next time you walk past someone, if they're asking for change, you don't have to give them change. Just sit down and have a chat with them.
Life's a test. I think I'm unlucky, or maybe I'm just cursed. I pray for it to get better, but my life keeps getting worse. And I know we're all made even, and equally we're blessed. The stronger your beliefs and faith, the harder your life will test. There's Ben Roper from from Manchester. Basically, a breakup with my missus led to me being homeless. Not being a high enough priority for the council, so I'm just on the waiting list. There needs to be a lot more things for people that aren't on something. As crazy as it is, the more messed up you are, the more of a priority you are. So, just being homeless should be enough. You shouldn't have to have something wrong with you just to get housed. You've got to be on something, done something really horrible, or there's got to be something up with you. They don't have a good reputation. I think that's a lot to do with the beggars and not the homeless. 90% of homeless people won't ask you for anything because it's not going to give you a chance to kick us while we're down. No, beggars, my people, you know, I haven't got the right to ask you for your money. I can try and earn it, but you know, most of the 95% of the beggars in Manchester aren't homeless, and they're just looking out for a free ride, or to support their habits or whatever. I went through a Acorn rehab, which is like a life rehab, not just drink or drugs. I was a really bad alcoholic. All day long I ask people if they've got drugs, if they want to buy drugs, if they want to sell drugs, or if they can get them drugs. I don't do them. No, I can't. Be careful of the grifters and grafters, and careful who you choose to give to, because once you give, you can't take back, and you don't want your money going on heroin and crack. It's a big difference with homeless people, beggars, you know. Not all beggars are homeless, not all homeless people are beggars. It's like, me, I say I'm down and I'm not out. I'm trying, you know. I'm in the situation I'm in, I'm trying to make the best of it. I'm fucking not asking anyone for anything. No, I haven't got a right to ask anyone for anything. I'm trying to earn my money. And I'm not greedy. Once I get my money for a B&B, I'm gone. No sit and take. I try to give back, you know. People that have got somewhere to live that come out begging, I don't know how the hell they do it. Sitting on your ass, just watching the world go by. Every minute's like an hour. It's just not good, man. Don't do begging. Get a job.
That's me quilt. That's me pillow. And that's my cup of tea cup. And that's my possessions all in the world and what I'm wearing.
So how long have you been camped here?
Now, a week and a half.
Week and a half.
I've just showed them. You filmed everything.
Excellent.
And my coffee cup.
Okay, thank you, man.
You're welcome. Yeah, my name's Gary Floyd and I'm from Sale, Manchester. Well, basically I was in a home when I was 7. It's not my mum's fault, it wasn't my family's fault. Things happen in life, that's less said, but I ended up going into the prison system, ended up going onto the street, and I've been here ever since. At the age of 23 I lost my son. When I lost my wife, I lost my firstborn son, I lost everything. And I just couldn't see a future. So I had a drink and then it became more to keep warm on the street and then I just became an alcoholic. I got into a bit of drugs, got out of drugs, never touched them again, not them anyway. And now I'm trying to beat the beer, but these are now, it's took all this for them to turn around and start helping me to get, you know, a rehab. Because if not, I'll be dead. The way people treat you, the way the buildings, you know, say you've got to go use the toilet, you know, to clean yourself up, they say no. You know, people coming past your tents at night, kicking you, throwing things at you because they're drunk, or being in a doorway and somebody basically urinating all over you, which I've had, and I think a few of us have had that. No, it's just them little things get to you. You've got to play with the system. Because you've got an address sometimes, you can't get your money, and then because you haven't got an address, you can't get a doctor, so therefore, you're in a, it's just one cog, and you're in it and you ain't coming off that cog, because they won't let you come off the cog. I've been in places and they throw me out through the rent, because the rent's gone up, I can't pay it, so it's built up, so they throw me out. They put me in another place, same thing again, it all comes down to rent. That's what it comes down to when I get thrown out. You know, and as I know, you know, I don't cause trouble, and if I can't afford to buy, you know, pay the rent, that's it, I'm out, I'm here. Spend more time with the people that need this help, you know. There's vulnerable people out here, there's girls, you know, there's people with mental health problems, they've got families, nobody's looking at, nobody. This is the only way the world's going to see what's going on. If we sit down and protest, not an angry protest, a normal protest, about people, about who we are. I was in a rehab, and that was 4 years ago. I did 12 months, and it was voluntary. I volunteered. I did an extra. The voluntary was for 3 months, and I did 12 months, and then they wanted to put me in this place in Liverpool, which I didn't think was appropriate for me. So I left Liverpool and come back to the streets, and just ended up back on the streets. Started drinking again. It's all about money. It's all about money. It's not about people anymore. It's not about people anymore. It's about the money. It's greed again. That's all I've got to say. Why can't we have a home? That's all I ask. A home. That's not a home. Won't put my dog in a tent. Get me into a rehab and get me a home. And I'll do the rest myself. I've heard people come past here and go, well, the 5 of them the other day come past, we'll shoot you. These are grown men in suits. Because you're scumbags because you're on the street. The police went after me, these 2 officers there went after them. I don't know what happened, but that's what was said. Because they were richer than us. In other words, we were in their square. Your Honour. That's the last gone, lad, I think. I give up. I give up. I lost my son, which was the best thing in my life. And I lost my granddad, which was the best things in my life. And I can't see a future. All I could see is the bubble what I'm on now. Every morning. Nothing in my head. Up, beg, eat, sleep, drink, beg, eat, sleep, drink, beg, eat, sleep, drink. That's all I've ever done. And I just want help. Because if not, I'll end up dead on the street and I don't want to die. I'm only 47 years of age, for Christ's sake. There's kids over there, younger than me. Do you know what I mean? Just what life. The full picture is all around you. You go to work every day, you do this every day, you walk past people. You don't think, you just walk past them. I've thought for other people, that's all I'm saying. There's people dying on these streets and you're not even bothered. You just still go to work, you're still doing this. Nobody's bothered. Legal life, for instance, it's killing everybody. But what are you doing about it? Nothing. It's killing us all. But they still stand there. And I hope people listen to this documentary and take it in. But trust me, you're that far from being there yourself. Everybody in this world. God bless.
I'm Paul Mellings from Manchester. I mean, I do get benefits. I get ESA, Employment Support Allowance. I'm staying with my friend Kelly. She's just got a tent today, so I'm staying with her. But I was sleeping on the stairs at St Anne's, Royal Exchange Theatre, and see behind us there, St Anne's Arcade. I was sleeping there sometimes. But yeah, basically, it's been here for the past, 4 and a bit years sort of thing. I've got a care of address, the Booth Centre, a homeless drop-in. Well, I'm waiting to get in a place called Woodward Court. I'm just on a waiting list at the minute, but the waiting list is very, very long, so it might possibly be a year, couple of years. I don't know, as and when really, you know what I mean? So, I've got a key worker. He does all the running round and blah, 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 and informs me what's going on and this, that and the other, but yeah, it's going to be, I reckon it will be about a year or so. I do, because it is a long, long waiting list. A very long waiting list. You've seen the amount of empty buildings in Manchester. They're doing nothing with them whatsoever, you know what I mean? They could do them up for there's a lot of homeless, you know what I mean? A lot of empty, they're not derelicts, but you know what I mean? A liquor paint or something, it'd be alright. And we all get on like an house on fire, so there won't be no bother. Looks you get off the general public, the comments, you know what I mean? You've got more money than me. Yeah, I'd be sat in a doorway begging change if I've got more money than you. Fucking sure I would. Some are nasty. Just, yeah, it differs, you know what I mean? It does differ quite a lot. From the nice to the ultra nasty. I've been in hostels before now, but I just don't like the hostels because they're full of idiots, you know what I mean? Banging on your door early hours of the morning when you're trying to when you've been up all day and all. I just don't like hostels at all. If I can, I want my own, even if it's just a bed sit, just a room, you know what I mean? That'll do for me. Just a room. Well, I'm a drug addict myself, but these drug addicts there, always knocking, have you got, can he have, you know what I mean? Scrounging and hounding you, you know, it's just annoying, you know what I mean? So I just walked, the last one I was in, I just walked out. I was staying at my daughter's a fair few months ago, but I just I said I'm coming downtown to do some begging and never went back, you know what I mean? But I've got an addiction, so I don't want to be there. I can't be there I can't be there and using at the same time, you know what I mean? It's not fair on me. It's not fair on my daughter, you know what I mean? So, on the streets it was. I'm 48 in September, and it's not getting any easier. We're homeless, not hopeless, you know what I mean? We just give us a break.
My name's Kevin Newton and I'm from Oldham. Statistically, yeah, I'm currently homeless, but that's all on paper. I'm actually living in a hostel called Lancaster House. I've been on and off the streets for over 10 years, try to get accommodation and stuff like that, but through not meeting council's criteria and stuff like that, being put on lower lists because I'm not a priority. So I've been self-surfing as well as sleeping on the streets. I had an apprenticeship for tree surgery. I was doing horticulture as well, and landscape gardening. Trying to do my own business. I had a lawnmower and that as well. That's what started me up, like paying for my course and things like that. But a lot of things ended up just going wrong. Not being able to keep up with fees and stuff like that, and loans and other things. Just general breakdown. Well, not being able to keep up with the work and not having my own home. I was living with my stepfather, ended up meeting my girlfriend and everything, and we ended up getting together, had a couple of kids. Through me losing my job and other bits and bats, we ended up going through arguments and stuff like that. And I ended up homeless through arguing and other things, and the main reason was through not having enough money. It's hard, not knowing where to put your head or where you can get your next meal. It's kind of a struggle, and then you're not knowing who you're going to meet as well. Even though in certain cases it's like an unspoken bond between people who are homeless. You know what I mean? You find out you have something in common with almost everybody, so you get along really. But life on the streets, it is rough, it is tough, and you can get yourself into a lot of trouble. A lot of trouble you don't need to. Basically, shoplifting and stuff like that. Just try to keep some money in your pocket to either get yourself a bed and breakfast, or just your next meal. Or, you know what I mean, if you're lucky, you might be able to get yourself a tent or something. Yeah, I'm currently looking for housing. I'm looking private as well as council, but I've not lived in the area where I am at the moment long enough to put in for a council, so it's all private. Just looking for the right place to pop up. If I get a house, I should be able to get a job with a friend that helps out Coffee for Craig. He does deliveries and pickups and stuff like that for him on a charity basis, and he says if I get myself somewhere to live, I'd be able to have a job. I just need to find accommodation. The problem with trying to get a house is having the ID, not being able to pay for the ID, because birth certificates generally aren't just enough. You need picture ID, and when it comes to picture ID, you need to have money in your pocket, and you need an address for things to be sent and stuff like that. So it's a bit of a ring of fire really. No matter where you turn, there's something in your way. In terms of getting housing and stuff like that, if the government could make ID official from a young age or easy to obtain, then you'd be able to put in for housing a lot easier and stuff like that. Like if you haven't got an address and you are homeless and you're not being able to get hold of ID because of the fact of you not having an address for it to be sent to, or not having the money or whatever, there should be other options. You know what I mean? They make the rules, so they should be able to change them at least. It's only recently where there's been services that are helping you with these things, so you might be able to save up now and stuff like that, but it's a problem with the address. If you haven't got an address for somewhere for it to be sent or out like that, you know what I mean, then you're buggered then, because a lot of people on the street don't have families, but there's many reasons why people on the street, not just one. So you're never really sure of how to obtain things like that. It's pretty hard. I don't know what the general public think. You can't really say what's in another man's mind or woman's mind. But they generally look down on the homeless. They think of just one reason, drugs or something like that, you know what I mean? But then there are a few people that understand. You can't really put it to a minority or a majority. It's a bit funny really, that subject. Me, I do have a mental illness, attention deficit hyperactive disorder. Which was diagnosed as a child, but recently I've tried to find out if I've got a thing called Asperger's, it depends on how you pronounce it and where you're from. But that's just a form of autism, and because of these things I find it hard to socialise and other bits and bats, and I find it hard with work, and I find things easier to do things my own way, and it's not really the best way in a work environment, you know, so I can cause problems that way and stuff like that. I should be on DLA to be truthful, but I've wanted to work, you know what I mean, I've wanted to make a difference and do things myself, and I've not been able to, and that was one of the reasons as well why I was homeless, because people don't generally understand the way I work. Try and find your local authority, try and find someone who can help you. Don't think you're alone in the subject, because there's always somebody in the same or in a worse predicament. So try and find your local authority and your local charities that can help you out, and always think that there's going to be a better day, because there's always tomorrow. Give me a home and give me a job. You can only show a man a door, he has to walk through it, like, you know what I mean? Don't ever look down on someone who's homeless. If you are going to look down on them, give them a hand up. Don't part with your money. Give them something to eat, something to drink. Offer them something like a bed and breakfast if you can afford it. Something like that. It's the only thing I could think of. It's all that people really need, really, somewhere to sleep and something to eat if they're in that predicament. Yeah. You find yourself doing things you wouldn't generally do when you're at home. You find yourself rummaging in places like Tesco's, in that sort of environment. I don't really want to say exactly what, like, you know what I mean, because some people will look down at you and think, wow, no way have you actually done that, but you have to when you're starving. You guess what I'm on about. So, yeah.
Yeah, my name's Terry and I'm from Manchester. I've been homeless several times throughout my life. I've probably spent about 15 years on the streets on and off. Most recently back in 2010, which was up here in Salford or Manchester. And I was fortunate enough to use the services of the Narrowgate Night Shelter. And they put me in touch with Abbott Lodge, which was the council's housing facility for the homeless, and because of my medical condition at the time I got priority housing, so that's how I got off the streets. But I prefer being on the streets to being where I am now, to be honest. Less rules, less regulations, less responsibility. I don't like being a part of this society, to be honest. There's too many idiots, too many bureaucrats causing problems and everything else. I'd rather just get in my tent and go and sleep on the moors. That way I can be my own person, do my own thing. Before I was homeless last time, I was actually working for Welfare Rights. Well, I've worked in several positions. I'm quite unique that I've been on both sides of the fence. I've been a service user and a service provider, and I've worked with both statutory and voluntary agencies. So I've worked with Welfare Rights, I've worked with the Salvation Army, I've worked with Shelter, I've worked with Mind, I've worked with a voluntary organisation called Helping Hands in Blackpool. I helped out at the hub down in Bristol. You know, so I've been on both sides of the fence. I've worked for Citizens Advice, but I've spent a lot of time as a service user, and you learn a lot about procedures from being on the streets as well. You know what I mean? So I can face the homeless problem from any angle and have total empathy with, you know, whoever it is that you're dealing with. You know, the first time I was on the streets, I was 12 years old. My mother kicked me out after my twin sister tried to commit suicide after taking some tablets that I gave her. So my mum kicked me out on the streets, and I spent 5.5 months down at King's Cross in London on the streets. Back then it was a lot easier than it is now to be on the streets. Even though I was a lot younger, I suppose that made it easier in itself, because a lot of people did sort of realise that I was young. I wasn't the youngest on the streets at the time. There was a couple of others at 10 and 11. But we tend to find that the elder ones seem to take us under their wing, like, and they show us where the soup kitchens were and where to get food, like, you know what I mean? But again, you get the good ones, but there's also the bad ones that try to exploit you, you know? But you didn't have all the bureaucracy. There was churches there to help you, there was voluntary organisations, and there was plenty of money around. These days, there's no money around, so there's no charities around, or not as many as they were. There's so much bureaucracy and rules these days that make it harder to get off the streets once you're actually on the streets. You know what I mean? So, you know, it was easier back then. People were more giving back then, because they had more to give. Because of my medical condition in the housing authority had to get me emergency accommodation. The only place they could put me that was ground floor access was sheltered housing, which technically should be for over 55s. But at the time I moved in, I was only 45. So I was actually the youngest person in the country in sheltered housing at the time. But that actually set a precedent, because now the council can no longer use that age limit in housing people, which in itself has taken at least 4 people that I know that are under 55 that are now in sheltered housing. Just me being allowed and with strings being pulled to get me into where I am, it's helped others. Because, like, you know, when I've come across people that are not quite 55, or they're between 45 and 50, and I've said to my housing manager, look, you made the exception for me, you got to make it for them. And fortunately they have, you know, so in itself it's set a precedent, which I hope they'll keep to. Well, for a start they need to simplify the whole process. Instead of having 3 or 4 different agencies dealing with it all, they should have a central contact point. And the homeless service shouldn't just deal with the homeless problem, they should deal with your benefits, they should deal with your any medical situations, they should be setting up appropriate support networks. Yeah, they should make the whole application process easier. Like the Local Connections Act, you have to be in an area for 6 months before you're accepted onto the register as homeless, unless you have a family connection or you can prove you've lived there previously. Yeah. That in today's society is ridiculous, because people are moving around so much because of the lack of facilities in each area. And with local authorities taking a more tougher stance on homelessness, and they're pushing people out of certain areas, people are migrating to other areas, so they're not going to be there for 6 months. So the homeless problem is just going to keep growing. They're going to get more and more people on the streets because they won't qualify for the housing. They need to simplify the housing legislation. They need to understand that a lot of people that are on the streets have less than perfect situations in their past. Some have been in institutional care, many can't read or write, so they don't know how to fill in forms, they don't have internet access, and these days everything has to be done by internet, you know. provide them with internet access, show them how to use the internet, yeah? But like I've said to many organisations in the past, it's okay giving people that have never had houses or that are homeless and have got these problems a house. You have to teach them how to live in a house. You have to teach them about money. You have to teach them how to apply for things like electricity and the utilities. You have to teach them how to budget, how to cook, how to even operate a washing machine. So many people don't know. They've never lived in houses since they've been on the street since they were kids. You know what I mean? So if you don't give them that education, if you don't teach them to live in a house, within a few weeks or a few months at most, they're going to be back on the streets. And when this new PIP system comes in, all they're going to do is flood the streets. Because people with addictions are going to get a month's worth of money, plus they're also going to be getting their landlord's rent is going to be paid direct to them instead of the landlords. And half of them are going to end up dead, because they're just going to binge on whatever their addiction is. And if they're not dead, they're going to end up on the streets because they haven't paid their rent. So the whole situation with this PIP and paying everybody monthly is just going to make the whole situation a lot worse. And there's less and less charities out there to help because there's less and less funding. And with council cuts as well, there's less and less statutory agencies doing the work that they should be doing. So they need to simplify the whole situation. The general public tend to just ignore the homeless situation because it doesn't affect them. They walk past homeless people, they prejudge them without, an idea of what's gone on in their lives, and they just think, well, it's not my problem, so I'll walk past and ignore them. I sleep better outdoors than I do indoors. I like the fresh air, I like the bird song first thing in the morning. But no, a lot of the times it's been my choice. I stayed in a tent 3/4 of the way at Mount Snowdon for 7 months to overcome my heroin addiction. When I realised I could come off of Mount Snowdon and I wasn't an addict anymore, that was one of the happiest times in my life. And I knew. And from that day, 17 years ago, I've never touched a Class A drug. So yeah, that was one of my happiest times. That was when I suppose really living on the street saved my life. Because if I hadn't, I'd have carried on using and I'd have been dead by now. So living on the street saved my life. So sometimes it's been my choice, and some people do choose to live on the streets because they can't cope with society's rules or they don't know how to deal with society's rules. So it's easier, You've got no responsibilities on the street other than finding food and somewhere to sleep for the night. Spend a minute. That's all it takes. Just a minute, just a smile as you're walking past someone on the streets makes a world of difference to their day. And that in itself, just a smile in the morning can give you it's going to be a good day today, I'll go and get things sorted out. Someone walks past and kicks you in the street, you think, it's going to be one of them days today, I'm staying here, I'm not doing nothing. You know what I mean? So little things like that. Stop, spend a bit of time, talk to them,